Welcome to another week on my allotment, and I've come inside the shed, put the kettle on because it's raining outside. It's Thursday afternoon. I was going to start the video on Sunday. I've got this Sunday up here and I was going to do it as I normally do it, but I've taken a few short clips through the week. Cheryl's been up here a little bit helping me with the fruit picking, the flowers and a few other bits and pieces where two sets of hands are better than one, and I'm very grateful to her. She brought us up a spot of lunch, and it's lovely when there's the two of us here. It's quite nice, although if I'm honest, and she would agree with me that you know, after 30 years in the military we're used to our time apart, for her sanity if nothing else. So yeah, so this video will consist of a few clips of us through the week and whatever I do on Sunday. And I've done a bit of weeding since I've been up here this afternoon, but the rain is just a bit more persistent now. So I thought, right, time for a brew, and I've come inside. So welcome along. I hope you enjoy the video. Welcome to the Cotswolds. Got back from our weekend away in the Cotswolds today, and I've come up here after tea to do a little walk about the plot and perhaps a bit of watering, and found this pleasant surprise sat at the end of my plot. I'm guessing that was John that asked the landscape gardeners to stick it there, so I'm really happy, and that's going to go on my paths maybe a little bit this evening and then some tomorrow. Chuffed to bits. My first cabbage of the year. That is going to make some amount of coleslaw. Right. Well, it's reduced down to that, but that's still a good size. That will make fantastic coleslaw. I'm thrilled with that. That is a beautiful onion. I could win prizes with that, I think. Next addition to the coleslaw. Well, that is it, completely gone. All those chippings are now on the plot, on the paths, and they made a hell of a difference. Still got a little bit of the paths to do. As you can see, I've got that far down that smaller path. I can't use a wheelbarrow there because the path's not wide enough to tip the chippings out. They spill over into the beds. Although this wide central path is fine. So, a little bit more to do, and the landscape gardeners have dropped off another lorry load of chippings in the central area, so I've got plenty more to use. So it all looks well, and all the paths are looking good, ready for autumn and winter, assuming it's going to be as wet as last year. I've got Cheryl working hard. She's deadheading. She's picked the last of the black currants we're going to bother with. So 2 really large punnets of blueberries. lots more blackberries, some French beans that we'll cook and have cold in our salads, a handful of strawberries, and if you haven't remembered, or you're not a regular to my channel, I've concentrated this year with the strawberries on developing the runners into new plants, so we haven't had that many strawberry to eat, but it's an investment in next year and the years to come. Some carrots, they're all forked, which is a shame, but however, that's going in the coleslaw, so it doesn't really matter. And then some lovely looking spring onions, that cabbage that I've now cut down, beautiful looking onion, some rather large courgettes that Cheryl says she can use, and some peas. So all in all, lots to take home. It would appear you've done a good job, Mrs. Jordan.
I think I've got them all, Mr. Jordan. Are you inspecting?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an A- for that.
A minus?
Always room for improvement, dear.
Look, if you stopped filming and did some work, you might get something done.
I can't argue with that. It's just so nice to have someone else up here with me.
Yeah, doing all the work.
Yeah, well, there is that. I'm very happy with your work.
Thank you.
You are welcome to come again.
Thank you.
Right, this is a potato called Casablanca, and the 4 seeds, seed potatoes, were planted on the 14th of April, our wedding anniversary. That doesn't look good. First thing I've noticed in the bottom is 3 large wireworm. That does not bode well. Actually, that's not too bad. The first ones I've dug out haven't got any holes in that I can see. I'll finish this off and show you what I've got. That's annoying to say the least, because the whole reason for growing these potatoes in buckets is to avoid the damage caused when they're in the ground from wireworm and slugs. And I've gone through the soil and sifted through it, and I've got all the wireworm. There's about 10 wireworms in there, and of course the wireworms make these tiny pinhead holes into the potato, and very often the slugs use that hole to work their way in. There were no slugs, but there are a few potatoes here, and that's what I got out of that one bucket. It's a very modest little crop, and I reckon, looking at them, 20% of them, maybe 30% have got tiny little holes in. So when I boil them for tea tonight, I'll cut them open and see how far the holes go. But yeah, that is a bit disappointing. They've been sat on the chippings, and of course there was no wireworm in the soil when they went in. So what have they done? Have they crawled through or come up through the chippings? I don't know. Anyway, you know, it's no good losing sleep over this stuff. You've got to accept a certain amount of damage to your crops. It's far better than last year, where I lost almost the whole crop. So, but I'm going to assume now that all the other buckets have got wireworm because they've come up through the chippings. So I'm going to stick with the buckets next year. I just need to think about where I place them, get them off the ground perhaps, put some runners underneath them. Anyway, it is what it is. Well, I don't begin to understand it, but being concerned about all the rest of the pots I've got sitting there with potatoes in, I emptied a second one and there was not a wireworm to be found. So, nice little crop from 2 of the tubs. Thought think there's 4 more tubs, 3 or 4 more tubs of Casablanca to go. But yeah, and of course they're not sat on the chippings, they're sat on the lateral paths, which are slabs. So I don't understand that one. But anyway, these things happen. But a nice little crop of new potatoes to go with our salads of an evening. Well, another day, another harvest. Not quite as exotic as the usual ones this week, however. That's 1 complete tub of sweet candle carrots finished. And at last, I've managed to pull out a carrot that looks like a carrot. Fantastic. But very happy with all that. And as Cheryl's working till about 8 o'clock tonight, I've got to take that lot home and make a meal out of it. I feel for her. Unfortunately, I've spotted that something is eating my sweet corn. I'm really not happy about that. I'm guessing it's birds. I don't know. Maybe it's rats climbing the plant. Not sure. Anyone got any ideas?
What are you doing, Martin?
I am picking our first large crop of mature moneymaker. No, these are Shirley tomatoes. You can see I know how to grow them, but what I don't know how to do is whatever we do with them next. What do we do with them next, Cheryl?
Eat them.
Eat, well, okay, fair enough. How should we eat them?
Not sure.
I think soup.
Soup or pasta sauce?
Oh, yeah. I'm happy with either, as long as they're not wasted.
You have rather a lot of red ones there.
Yep. And of course, if we pick them, the others will ripen quicker.
Get some little ones down there as well.
Yeah, I'm leaving on there because you like them in salads.
Oh, it's full already.
Well, they are big, they don't take long.
Wow.
Over to you, dear.
Thanks.
Really pleased to be up here. I haven't done this full day Sunday thing for a while. And I've said to you before that I don't generally need an alarm to wake up. And I woke up, I was awake for a while actually, but I got out of bed, got out of the bedroom so I don't disturb my wife, and looked at my watch and it was 4:29 and the alarm was set for 4:30. So somehow the body instinctively knows. Anyway, I'm up here all day, and really we had a really good drink of water on the plot yesterday. Nothing, not a real downpour, but it was sustained for a few hours. So everywhere you walk here now, the plot, the soil looks lovely and dark. Everywhere's got that damp, just been watered feel. So I can give the watering cans a rest today, I think. So it's really a case of husbandry. Just get the hoe out again, bit of raking, making all the beds a little bit tidier than they are, because you know, when I haven't had the time, I've said before, you get up here and you've got so little time and you've got so much to do, you simply have to prioritise. And the priority this time of year is making sure you harvest everything and you don't lose it. But today I can relax a bit and I can do some of the stuff that isn't quite up on the list on the priorities. So I'm going to really enjoy that. Some of the tomatoes need the side shoots. Some of the side shoots are as big as tomato plants now, where I've let that go. So I'm going to get stuck into that. I've got one more path to do the chippings on. And yeah, I shall just potter around, and where there's a bit of weeding needed, I shall do it. Then I'll have a cup of tea, which I'm going to do in a moment. And I'm just going to enjoy being here. And people will come and go, and we'll stop and have a chat, and we'll put the world to rights. It's interesting, one of the things about my job as a gardener, when I left the army, people said, oh Martin, you're you're going to struggle, because, you know, military humour is raw, it's brutal, and civilian street is a little bit different. But slowly you gauge your customers, and I have customers that they tend to be old fellas who did a bit of national service, and so they understand the military humour. But it's not exclusively, you know. You can have a real good laugh with. Other people you have to be a little bit more careful. But that's a fascinating part of the job, and it's the same up here. It's the same with all people, isn't it? Some people you can take the mickey out of them, and they'll give as good as they get, and there's a real good crack, as the Irish say. But other people, you know, everything's an offence, everything's a worry. You know, like this current situation. You know, and, you know, I know, you know, again, it's the military humour in me. I know this has been tragic for some people. But, you know, that's the beauty of dark military humour, is even in the, you know, and I spoke to ambulance men and policemen when I was serving, and they say the same, you know, the only way to get through these things if you want to keep your sanity is with humour. And so, you know, we can have a laugh. I mean, you see some of the people walking around, the things they're wearing. I mean, if the government said putting a tangerine on your head helped prevent coronavirus, people would do it. I swear they would. Anyway, that's enough of that. I've got all day up here. I'm so pleased to be here. I better crack on with some work. Cup of tea. In an ever-increasing quest to keep you interested, I've been out and splashed the cash. Online, obviously. I only shop online now. Never been happier to give Amazon my money. 2024 quite interesting facts to stop you in your tracks. For those of us who live in the UK, you'll be aware of the quiz show, Quite Interesting. And as the name suggests, it's based around, you know, quite interesting facts. So anyway, I bought the book, and I thought rather than the white elephants and red herrings, I'd give you a few of those today. Something a little bit different. Excuse me while I restoke the Kelly kettle. Without burning my fingers off. So, I opened it at a page, randomly, and I thought, you know, we'll just try this page. The world land speed record for a blind motorcyclist is 163.7 miles per hour. That must have been one hell of a ride. Australia hosts a World Cup for Australian rules football, but the Australian men's team doesn't compete because it wouldn't be fair. If you've never watched Australian rules football, give it a go. Have a look on, I'm sure it's on YouTube. What isn't? It's absolutely brutal. It makes rugby look like a girl for games. A game for girls. A girl, yeah. Britain exports, keeping the Australian theme here, I can see what they're doing. Britain exports over 50,000 boomerangs to Australia every year. That's unbelievable. I wonder if when we export them, they'd come back. No, let's move on. The kangaroo rat can last longer without water than a camel can. You see how they're all linked. The Sahara Desert is 10% bigger than it was 100 years ago. Oh, I'm not sure I'm there with that. Never mind. 40 million years ago, a meteorite hit Canada, raising the temperature to a record-breaking 2,370 degrees Celsius. In Venezuela, in 1972, a meteorite killed a cow, but nobody knew about it because the farmer ate the cow and used the meteorite as a doorstop. Well, how did we eventually find that out? I don't know. Maybe somebody hit their toe on the doorstop. Cows with see how they're linking it? Cows with mastitis are given bras for their udders. Priceless. I'm quite enjoying these, so I'll just do a few more. Pythons have leg bones, which sort of proves the evolution theory, I guess. A rooster cannot hear how loud its own crowing is. Well, if you've ever lived near a rooster, you blooming know that. Coral reefs make a sound like popcorn being made. Coral can drown. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I saw this one earlier. I like this. When an alpaca gives birth, it is called an unpacking. Fantastic. Just a little snippet. You know, always keep the audience wanting more. Right. It's all right doing all this, but now I've let my blimmin' fire go out, haven't I? So I'm going to have to restart that. That's your fault. Sunrise and a cup of tea. Allotments don't get any better. Cheers, everyone. Lovely jubbly. Well, this is the sort of job I'm doing today. This was supposed to be an onion bed. These onions have been in since February. And, you know, I don't begin to understand it, but they have simply not moved. There's one onion there that looks like an onion. The rest, the sets, have just sat there. So I've made a decision today. That bed's getting dug out. Everything's getting taken out. I might leave that one onion, see if it develops, and just weeded, so that through the autumn and the winter I can rake it. I might even build it up a bit more. Anyway, so that's the sort of job I'm doing today. And this is a bed I did earlier, if not this week, then last week. I've dug it out. That was the broad beans in there. And I had a few leeks left over that were there for spares. So ideally this time of the year, when you're removing a crop, if you're really good at what you're doing, you have a secondary crop waiting in the wings ready to go. So I had a few leeks, but you know, I've got nothing to go in that other old onion bed. I've got nothing to go in there. I have brought some beetroot with me today, so I might put them in somewhere. And in fact, there are the said beetroot. And this was where the pea frames were. The smaller pea, Jaguar, was in here, but they've gone over. I didn't want to keep any seeds. And against the back of the frame where it was, I put those onions. And they're coming along at a reasonable rate. They're not going to win any awards, but they do look like onions at the least. And you can see they're flopping over, so not long now till I pick them and dry them. And I was weeding through the Brussels sprouts the other day and looked inside the plants, and I have Brussels sprouts forming. I'm not sure if that's a bit early, but anyway, good to see. I'll have Brussels sprouts any time of the year. Well, this is a classic example of what happens on your allotment when you're not paying attention and you're not up here as often as you might like to be. These tomatoes, I mean, they're staked and they're grown as cordons, but you wouldn't know it to look at right now. So at some point this morning, hopefully, I shall get the secateurs out and get in amongst that and try and thin them out, because the tomatoes that are in there, and I can see some, stand no chance of ripening and developing whilst they're inside that jungle. So I need to thin that out, do the side shoots and cut off the lower leaves. I'm sat here drinking my cup of tea, just browsing through this book, and I came across one I have laughed out loud for so long. Hand dryers in public toilets blow fecal matter all round the room and spread it evenly over your hands. You know, when you think you know something and then you find out you don't. I thought for years that using those hand dryers that blow hot air on your hands was more hygienic than using paper towels, or, you know, in the old days they used to have a towel in the, you know. I thought that was the whole point of those hot air hand dryers, was that they were more hygienic because you don't touch anything. All these years I've been blowing fecal matter evenly over my hands, and so have you. Oh, you've got to laugh sometimes, haven't you? I don't know. Well, it's not pretty, and the staking is highly inadequate, but you can see I've got a lot of tomatoes there, and they're now exposed, and if we get some sunshine they should start to ripen. And that's what I've yet to do. It's producing an awful lot of matter that, you know, the tomato plants put in great effort into growing completely unnecessarily. So there's a lesson learned. Right, it's 10 o'clock, so I'm going to pop down the farm shop and drop off some produce. So I've got some cucumbers that I've grown in the greenhouse. We just can't eat all the cucumbers the two plants are producing, so I might as well put them in the farm shop and make a little bit of money off them. Some zucchini courgette, some of these Benchmaster runner beans which look great, and then some French beans. Again, we just can't eat them or freeze them at the rate they're growing. And then some beetroot, and we've still got hundreds of beetroot. And this is a big moment for me since this new rule came in. I mean, I haven't been in shops. I haven't been in Tesco's since this stuff started back in March. Luckily, my wife deals with all that. And now, of course, in England, you've got to wear a mask or a face covering. So it'll be the first time I've been in anywhere where I've got to wear something over my mush. John went in the other day without a mask on and was asked by the staff to put a mask on, and he's got a sort of a neckerchief thing he always wears around his neck, so he lifted that up like a cowboy bandit, and that was sufficient. So I've got a rag and I shall do the same. Okay, let's get down to the shop. It's just started raining and Liam's walking up and down with a mower. I hope he's not intending to do the whole bloody field with that mower. He'll be there for hours, days. And he was telling me, I won't name her, I'm not sure what the libel laws are, but he had a thing on his phone yesterday about a certain ex-member of the Labour cabinet who can't do maths. And there was a photograph of her and a bubble above her head saying, "Do I have to wear a face covering if I'm shopping online?" It's got me chuckling, and I was picking blueberries and I keep chuckling away to myself. Anyway, I took my stuff into the shop, and there were it was 10 o'clock almost on the dot, so it only just opened. So there were 3 customers in the shop, including me, and we've all got muzzles on. And I counted 7 members of staff, and of course the staff don't have to wear them. Am I alone in thinking, first of all, I mean, there is no real hard and fast science that says that masks make any difference. I checked the World Health Organization website and it says, in certain circumstances, there is some evidence that masks may make a difference. Well, if you dissect that sentence down, that is not the kind of evidence on which to base national policy. But am I alone in thinking, there's 10 people in this shop, 3 of us have got, covering something on our face, and the other 7 haven't? You know, is it not either all of us or none of us? I don't know. I simply don't understand where we're going with this. Anyway, yeah, do I have to wear a mask if I'm shopping online? Oh, I'm going to be chuckling all day. Well, it's the end of the day. I've put in a good shift. I've seen a few people up here. Perhaps about a third of the plots had somebody on them today, which is nice to see. They've all come and they've all gone. And I started here on my own and I'm finishing here on my own. And yeah, I've had a good day. I've cleared several beds. I've put the beetroot in, the choggia, is it? The one that's got the red and white stripes inside. Never grown that before. So I've got some small plants, I've popped them in one of the spare beds. Lots and lots of weeding around the different crops. I've imported more chippings and I've done the 2 long paths now. All I've got left to do is the path right at the end between the compost heaps and the pumpkins, and the little strip down the side next to the Hanley Canal. So yeah, a good day. A little bit of cropping or harvesting, and as you know, I took a load of stuff to the farm shop, which was traumatic for me. So yeah, I'm very happy. I feel, having had a couple of weeks where I really haven't been able to get up here much, to have this long stretch of a day up here has just given me a chance to get back on top of things, and everything's looking neat and tidy. I've even managed a bit of deadheading on the flowers, which is normally what Cheryl does for me. So yeah, very good day, very happy, and I shall never use one of those hand blow dryers again. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have bought that book. I'm starting to learn things I wish I didn't know. So if you've got this far, well done, that's an achievement. Thanks to all those of you that have subscribed. Please hit the old thumbs up if you wouldn't mind, and all being well, next weekend is a caravan weekend for us, but I shall squeeze a video in somehow, somewhere. It's a song, isn't it? Yeah, look after yourselves. See you next week. Bye for now.